We are talking with Jessica Summers. She's an employment attorney in Bethesda. Good morning to you, Jessica. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
I believe we've talked about this before with you, and we've talked with other attorneys. And at the time, this was before the vaccines got full authorization, and not so many employers were enforcing a mandate. Since then, we've seen airlines have mandates and other places. What's your reaction to hearing what folks are saying? I'm not going to get the vaccine, regardless of whether or not there's a mandate.
Yeah, so we've seen that there was really a shift once the final approval came through for the Pfizer vaccine. Many employers felt much more comfortable mandating those vaccines for their employees. What we're also waiting on that's going to make a big shift is these new OSHA rules. Back in September, the president directed the Workplace Safety Agency, OSHA, to issue emergency rules to require businesses with 100 or more employees to either require their employees to be vaccinated or to submit to weekly testing. We're expecting those rules to drop any day now, and that's really going to shift things as far as the options that unvaccinated workers might have to go to a workplace that does not have a vaccination requirement or something similar.
Well, speaking of options, we know you can be exempt for religious or medical reasons. Outside of that, do you really have any choice? And what happens if you get let go because you are not vaccinated in terms of maybe even unemployment benefits?
Yeah, so employers do have an obligation to accommodate employees who can or won't become vaccinated because of a disability or a religious belief, unless doing so would create an undue hardship for the employer. So we are seeing contexts where the accommodation requests are being denied, and lawfully so. But for employees who do not fall into one of those accommodation categories, it really is going to be a decision in many instances between vaccination or termination. And there is still an evolving issue with our local unemployment agencies as to whether, if you are terminated as an employee for failing to qualify and comply with a vaccination requirement, if you're still going to qualify for unemployment. That's not something people should assume that they are going to do.
I want to talk about the religious exemption, because we've seen around the country a slight uptick in folks who are claiming their religion is the reason why they cannot or morally would not feel comfortable getting the vaccine. How difficult is it, and how do you prove, right, that your religion, because major religions do not have this exemption. The Pope has spoken on the vaccine himself.
Yeah, that's exactly correct, Jeanette. And it's really difficult for businesses trying to figure this out. You know, the EEOC has basically taken the position and suggested to employers that they really shouldn't be digging too deeply into whether an employee's belief is sincerely held. But we do see a number of different iterations of religious objections coming up, whether it's the way the vaccines were developed or just prevailing beliefs over what God may have in store for somebody. It's really creating a challenge for employers to figure out how to deal with this. And then also looking at whether providing any accommodation, whether or not someone does have a sincerely held religious belief, would pose an undue hardship for that business, particularly as far as safety in the workplace.
It is a delicate balance. My last question here, have you found, I believe it was with Delta, but there was one airline, it was Delta, 67,000 employees, and about 200 and change decided not to get the vaccine and were facing termination. Have you found that vaccines are effective, vaccine mandates rather, are effective?
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing the numbers, and that's why the administration has been pushing for these vaccine mandates for private businesses, federal contractors. The numbers are helping increase vaccinations, which is obviously great from a public health standpoint. We do see some of the supply chain issues when it comes to how many workers you have and making sure you have sufficient workers. We're looking at TSA facing a challenge for the upcoming holiday season potentially. So, you know, it is moving the needle on vaccinations, but it is a rocky process as we go through.
You're right. This is ironically coming as employees have a bit of an upper hand, right? Because there is a shortage when it comes to employees. So we'll see how this goes moving forward. And as you mentioned, especially as we go into the holidays. Jessica Summers, an employment attorney in Bethesda. Always appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.